Hey guys, Lane here from Maker's Lane. Another gift idea for you guys. Today we're going to make an epoxy wood clock. Let's get started. So here's what we're going to be using for this project. Obviously we got our epoxy and our wood, which is going to be the basis behind our clock. And then for the clock piece itself, I'm going to be using this clock building kit that I got off Amazon. Then some just basic stuff. For the back part, you want some sort of smooth material. This is melamine. You can use anything that's really smooth. You can use plastic. It's just gotta not have a texture to it so the epoxy doesn't want to stick to it. For the outside pieces, I'm gonna just use these leftover plexiglass pieces that I have lying around. Again, something really smooth for the sides. You can build a whole frame out of melamine if you want, but this is just what I'm using for it. I'm going to seal it up with hot glue. Now you can use caulk, you can use basically anything that will keep the liquid from wanting to come out. And then I got my hammer and my chisel just to kind of pop it off of here. So the first thing we're gonna get started on is building up the frame, and I'm gonna glue these pieces of wood to where I want them on the frame itself. And then we can start pouring. Oh, the other thing that's not here that I'm gonna be using is going to be my laser. That is what I'm going to use to actually make the clock impression itself. Now, if you don't have a laser, you can hand draw it if you want, or you can get stencils offline, and then you print them out on a piece of paper and then cut them out and then just like paint them on there. So this is like a two-part epoxy pour. So the first pour is the initial plate, and then I will run it through my planer, and then I will laser engrave it, and then I will put another layer of epoxy that does two things. That one seals the wood from warping up, and two, it reshines all the epoxy that was previously dolled up from running it through the planer. So that's basically it. I'm just gonna get into it and run with it. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments, but I'm just gonna get started. Okay, so I let it dry for 72 hours. It's pretty solid now. The next step, I'm going to go ahead and take these plexiglass pieces off and take the back off. And then once I have that done, so when I made it, this ended up coming up a little bit higher than I wanted it to. Most of it's fine. I don't care that most of this is like raised up. I probably want to take about 1/2 inch off just to kind of get it down. So I'll take my router and go over top of it and just run it a couple times on the top. And then once that's done, I can throw it into my laser and start putting the numbers on it. Okay, now that I have it flatter, it's still raised a little bit. You can see it kind of gives it a more of a depth feel, I think. So now that I got this all done, the next part is going to be lasering it, and then I'll put another coat of epoxy to kind of level everything out. So let's go ahead and put it on the laser and put the clock on the front. For this part, all I'm doing is I'm going to put the basic clock shape. I have it here on my computer. It has a basic clock layout. When you're laser engraving on epoxy, you have to put some sort of, epoxy's translucent, so that means when the laser tries to engrave or basically burn, it can't burn because it's going through it and the energy is dissipated through the entire project. So you need to put some sort of coat or something on it to make it so that the laser can actually start burning, and then once it has the first layer burnt, it can continue burning on top of that layer. Some of the methods I like to use, depending on the surface I'm doing it on, I like to use either tape or some sort of like dry erase marker on it, typically black or a dark color. That way the laser, basically think of it as when you're lasering it, you're dissipating the energy onto the surface. If it's a light colors obviously reflect light, dark colors absorb light. So you want a darker color so that it absorbs the energy and burns the material. So all I'm gonna do, outline the circle with tape. I'm also gonna engrave the back with a quote and my logo. So let's go ahead and get started taping this up. Okay, so here's the front with the laser engraving. So now that this is done, I need to put another layer of epoxy on top that's clear so that you can see all this. Before I do that though, I'm going to put the quote that I'm going to use on the back along with my logo. I wanted to also show you guys a little bit of a different method. Since I laser engraved the front, I wanted to do something different on the back. For this, I'm going to use heat transfer paper. So it looks like this. I already cut it out. So I'm going to just use my heat gun and a squeegee and just kind of stick it to here. So let's go ahead and do that. tip, don't be dumb like me. Epoxy does not like the cold. It will set up in the cold, but if you try to mix it when the epoxy's cold, you'll get a lot of bubbles in it, which is fine if you put it in a vacuum chamber or you do something to get rid of the bubbles before it sets up. So what happened with the front here, it was a thicker pour. It didn't happen with the back because the back was a pretty thin pour. It happened a little bit around the edges, but that will be gone once I get it to shape because it's a little bit larger than what I wanted. On the front, it's good here around these numbers that are raised up, but obviously you can see like the 5, the 9, and the 10, they're just like really cloudy, and that's because there's a lot of bubbles in there. I don't know if you can really pick it up on the camera, but that's what's causing that, which really upsets me because I really like the depth of how I did this and how like the one set of numbers are like lower and like it basically gives it a 3D look. Would have been a lot cooler if this worked out and I didn't screw up. I'm really irritated with myself, but I mean, it is what it is. You gotta just roll with the punches as they're given to you. So what I'm gonna do now is basically plane it back down and plane everything to a level surface, get rid of the old laser marks. Basically now I'm gonna have to re-pour this front face and I'm gonna have to re-laser it. So I will skip that boring part for you so that you don't have to watch it. I'm just gonna throw it through my planer, re-laser engrave the front face here, just like I did before, and hopefully it will look better when I'm done. If that worked, it should look a little something like this. Okay, so this project has just given me so much trouble. So I went ahead and re-lasered it. Obviously this white is not from the laser, so this is from, I basically just did the same thing that I did on the back to the front of it. So I went back after I planed it down and I laser engraved it again, and I just really didn't like the depth. So I put this vinyl, the same thing that I did on the back, I did on the front. And when I went to pour the first layer, I poured it too quick and I poured it when it was almost time for bed. So like I left it and there's bubbles everywhere, okay? I decided, okay, I'm gonna scratch it back down to flat surface and do it again. Well, when I went to do it again, I put it through my planer and it caught this edge here and ripped half the board off. So I had to go back and re-pour some of the epoxy. That's why this is white and this is gray. I also thought it'd be a cool contrast, the gray with the white on the edge. And then for a second time, I put the vinyl on and I redid the epoxy. Obviously you can tell there's different things in the background because this took so long. Now that we're here, I'll give you a close-up look at it. So here it is. Obviously it looks much better, much cleaner. You can see everything, you can see the background. That's the white epoxy that I put on it. I thought it made it like really have a lot of character. I kind of wish it would have been up here too, but you know, I wasn't gonna break this off just to make it uniform with that. But overall, I think that's a pretty cool piece. So since I finally got this and we got a good looking piece here, the next thing that I'm going to do is route out the back center part. That is going to be where the clock part, where is it? I don't know how many times I've lost this thing. Whatever, all right. I guess we're not gonna look at it right now. Basically, it's a square piece that holds the clock backing to it. I have no idea where I put it. But when I went to put the vinyl on here, so I left these center marks in here. That's where I'm gonna drill the hole that's gonna go all the way through where the clock hands are actually gonna sit on top of this. I wanna know where the hell it is. It's ridiculous. Okay, the first thing I'm gonna do is drill the hole in here, and then once I have the hole, I can flip it over, and then I'm gonna use a template. So this is the piece I was talking about before. It's just what holds. So this piece right here is what's gonna pop up through the back piece, and then so I just have to route basically that thickness out of this underside here so that this can sit in the back and be recessed. This is how you adjust it and obviously put the battery in. All right, so let's drill the hole. finished up. I sanded it and I put everything on it, and then I added the little bracket on the back. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Was not expecting something to look this clean. Granted, it did take a lot of work and a lot of rework and even more rework, but it ended up turning out really awesome. I'm really happy with it. Nothing I would really change other than being a little bit more patient and not trying to rush the epoxy. That process is very delicate. You need to take your time, and it's just very time consuming in general, so make sure you don't try and rush it just to get something done like I did. This was actually a gift from my wife. She absolutely loves it. I think this is gonna be its permanent home right here in our kitchen. So it's a great addition to our house. This is one of my videos in my gift series. If you guys are in search of a project to do for someone that you know and you wanna do more of a DIY kind of intimate project, I have a whole bunch of those on my channel. Just look up gift ideas, it's in the playlist. If you do like this kind of stuff, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the page, turn on notifications so you can see more stuff like this. If there's a specific DIY gift idea project that you have in mind that you don't really know how to implement, and maybe you think I can do it, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I'd like to hear those suggestions. I'm always open to new things, trying new things. All right, until next time, guys, I'm Lane from Maker's Lane. You guys have a good one.